everyone. Good morning. Autumn here from Studio 23. Today we're going to be working on a multimedia piece that is watercolor and crayon or marker, whatever you have at home, but this is what we're going to be working on today. This is based off of the art of Ted Harrison. He's a Canadian artist. And a little bit about Ted Harrison. He's from Canada, so he was very, very inspired by the art and the colors in the landscape of the Yukon Territory in Canada. His artwork is pretty easily recognizable because he uses bright and contrasting color palettes, and he likes to use lots of swirling and whimsical lines. And he's also well known for illustrating children's books, so it's very possible you have already seen his art before. And if you're interested in finding out more about Ted Harrison and his illustrations for children, a great book for you to check out is A Brush Full of Color, The World of Ted Harrison, and you can find that book probably anywhere. All right, so for today, what we're gonna need for our project, you're gonna need 2 sheets of white or light color paper, whatever you have. You're gonna want some watercolor. You're gonna want a paintbrush, whatever size you can find, and a black crayon or black oil pastel. I only have oil pastels right now. I don't know what I did with my crayons. So, and you could also use a marker if you needed to in a pinch. So, let's get started. To start with, we're going to start with our background. So that's our colorful part back here, right? So let's grab some paper. And today we're going to be working portrait. Remember, this is landscape, this is portrait. So today we're going to be working in portrait. Okay. So before we start painting though, we want to draw out some of our landscape. We want to make sure we have some landscape going on here, give it some interest. So to start with, we're going to do just a sort of curved line across the bottom of our page. And when you're trying to figure out the bottom of your page, it doesn't have to be exact, but maybe just kind of, I don't know, finger length from the bottom of your page would be a good estimate. And remember, we want this kind of curved. We don't want this a straight line. So we're gonna got my first line done. All right. So then next I'm going to draw another curved line, but I want it to intersect the one that I just made. Somewhere near the middle of my page would be great. So I'm just gonna go in. And see, my second line has intersected right with my bottom line, okay? So I'm starting to build my hills here, if you're wondering what we're doing, okay? And then from there, we're gonna do another curved line, right from one side to the other, okay? Let's see, right about here I'll do. All right. And then I think I'm going to do one more intersecting line. Okay. So those are going to be my hills that I'm drawing out right there. All right. So from there, I think because Ted Harrison always had a lot of mountains and things of that nature in his paintings, so I want to make sure I have some mountains. So I'm going to do those. Those are going to come up from my lines that I just drew, and I'm going to do mountain shapes. Now, remember I've said in previous videos that I like to draw, or I like to, think of things in shapes, what kind of shapes they make. So I don't want these mountains very pointy, so I'm going to kind of think of them as like upside down U's, or maybe even upside down V's. And I'll show you what I'm talking about, okay? So I'm going to draw a big one, let's see, a big one right here, and I'm going to start at the line I drew, and I'm going to go up really high, and then back down, touching that line again. So there's my first mountain, okay? And then I'm going to draw another one, and I'm actually gonna start on this line that I just made from that mountain, okay? And this isn't gonna be a really high mountain. This is just gonna, maybe this is an older mountain, so he's not quite as tall. Okay, so there's my second one. Now I think I want one even further in the distance. So I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna connect it the same way I've been doing. All right, 3 nice big mountains, and you know what, I think I'll do one more off to the side too. And this one's gonna go right off the edge of my paper. There we go. So I have my rolling hills, and then I have my mountains in the background, okay? So now that we have that, we're gonna be ready to start painting. So we're gonna use watercolor paper, okay? Or excuse me, watercolor paint, I'm sorry. We're gonna use watercolor paint. Now, we don't want it to be too dark, so remember in the past when I've said, if we want it to look more pastel, we add way more water to our watercolor paints than paint, right? So that's what we're gonna do again. So one way that I like to do this is I just go right in, get a little bit of water, and sprinkle it right over my watercolor pan. And you can see it makes it nice and watery. We'll let that sit for just a minute. All right. Okay, so to start with, I think we're gonna do, I think when we're doing the sky and the mountains and things like that, usually we always think of the sky as being blue and mountains being brown or gray, right? But we have to remember that there's so many different times of the day when colors change on things. So we need to get out of that box and stop thinking of things as the sky is blue, the mountains are brown. So I think we're gonna make it like this is a sunset maybe, and so I'm gonna make maybe a blue mountain, a red, a purple mountain. I want it to be very colorful, just like Ted Harrison does. So I'm gonna start with my big mountain right here, and I'm gonna go for it. I'm just gonna paint this guy blue. Now remember, I want lots of water on my brush because I don't want this to be too dark, and I'm just gonna start painting. I wanna stay right inside the line, okay? Stay inside those lines. They're nice and big, so you shouldn't have too much of a problem doing that, okay? All right, we're gonna keep filling that in. There we go. And if you're worried that it's gonna get too dark, you can actually put water down first. That's a great technique, and then go in with your really watered down color, and then you don't have to worry about it being too dark. Because one thing about watercolors, you can always go back in and add more and make it darker, but if it's too dark, it's a little bit harder, it's a little bit trickier to make it lighter. So, I'm gonna keep adding my blue. Let's see, spread this out because I don't want it to be too dark. All right. And another thing to remember is if you're using regular paper, not watercolor paper, we don't want to overwork the surface too much, because what can happen is you can actually rub right through your paper if you're not using watercolor paper. So it's okay to use regular paper, you just have to keep in mind like, oh, I can only brush over that so many times and then I might ruin it, okay? So it's a good tip to keep in mind. Okay, I have my blue mountain. I'm gonna do a red mountain right here. So my smaller mountain, I think I'm gonna paint this one red. I want it nice and colorful, just like Ted Harrison. Go in with some red. Ooh, that looks nice. I love that. I'm gonna go in with some more water because I really want to lighten. I don't want it to be too dark of a red. All right, go back in now with some more paint and we'll spread it out. Ooh, look at all that red. I'm loving it. And like always, if you're following along and you paint with us, and you would like to show us what you're working on, we would love to see it. We love all the examples we've been getting, and I've been amazed with the paintings I've seen. You guys have just been doing such a great job at home with your artwork. We love it. At the studio, we absolutely love to see it. So, all right, let me finish coloring this in. All right. Okay, I got my second mountain painted. So I have a red mountain, I have a blue mountain. It's very colorful, but that's okay. This is in the style of an artist who does a lot of bright, bold color. All right, so for our next mountain, I think we'll do some purple, okay? So I have my watered down purple. And this big mountain right here, I'm gonna make it purple. Maybe I'll put a little more water down. All right, start filling it in more. Oh, I like that. All right, so we have our red, our blue, our purple. You know what, I think I'll make this little mountain that's coming off the edge of the paper purple as well. I think that's a great idea. So let's see, actually we'll mix purple and red. We'll see what that does. All right, there we go. Mountains are painted. Love it. Love, love, love the color. Okay, so I'm gonna rinse my brush out. All right. So now on the bottom, let's see. I think we probably want to make this all one color, right? So we kind of can give the idea of a cold Yukon landscape, right? Because that's what he painted, was the Yukon territory. So I think to do that, I think we're gonna do a lot of blue, but I think I want some areas to maybe look a little lighter. So I think I'm gonna go on and I'll paint some areas with water first. Like this hill, we'll put water down first. And maybe some of this hill, we'll put some water down first. And then we'll start going in with that really, really watered down blue watercolor. And now with this, because it's all gonna be blue, we can just kind of go for it, right? As long as you're using a lot of water on this part, because we really want this to look, to start some areas to look a lot lighter blue than others. We wanna mix it up a little bit. Okay. All right, a little more blue. Ooh, I like the way this is looking. I like it. If you have any questions while you're working on this, let me know. I'd love to answer some questions for you. I think this project is not too difficult, but I know we always have questions, and that's great. All right, let's see. A little more blue. All right, so now we got our icy cold Yukon hillscape and our mountains going on. I think the last thing that we need to do for the watercolor portion of this is the sky. So one thing that Ted Harrison often had in his artwork is he had a lot of line and texture in his backgrounds. And that was something a little different that maybe not all artists do. So that's what we're gonna do for for our very far background, or for just our sky, okay? And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna load up my brush with some water, and then I'm gonna go in, and I think I'm just gonna try and use warm colors. So I'm gonna use my oranges, my yellows, my reds, those are my warm colors, right? And I'm gonna go in and I'm just gonna kind of make some lines, some wavy lines all over my paper with different colors. And I got some green in my yellow, but that's okay. I think it's still gonna look good. And it's just gonna break up all of the solid color down here, and it's gonna make it look more like a Ted Harrison inspired painting, because we're gonna have that line and that texture throughout the sky. And I think I'll even go in and add a little bit of red. Let's see. And I'm still just doing squiggly lines. And if they blend with each other, that's great, even better. That's one of the beautiful things about watercolor, is when it blends, it looks so pretty, and sometimes it does things that you never would have even thought that it would do. So, light a little more. All right. So I have my lines, my colorful texture for my sky, and I have my flat colors for my mountains, and my icy cold looking hillscape down at the bottom here, okay? So I'm gonna let this dry, and I'm gonna move on to the polar bear portion of this. Let's see, let's find space for this to dry. Okay, so we have our background done. We need to move on to our polar bear, okay? So we're gonna clean off our brush and we're gonna put that away. We're done with our watercolor for now. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab our second sheet of paper, okay? Again, we're gonna do this portrait style, okay? And we're going to start drawing the face. I'm gonna show you how to do it, and then we're gonna spread out to the rest of the polar bear, okay? So you're gonna wanna grab, for this, you're gonna wanna grab your crayon, or your black marker, or if you do have oil pastel, you can use that too, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go roundabouts to the middle of our paper. Maybe not exactly, probably right around here. We'll start, okay, right in the middle. And we're gonna start with the nose, okay? And the nose is just a oval laying on its side, and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, an oval laying on its side, and then you're going to fill it right in. Okay, now to give you some kind of indication on if it's the right size or not, if you can still see some of the oval and you put your finger on it, then that's a good size. That's big enough, okay? So from there, we're gonna start to draw the mouth. So we wanna draw that little line that goes down and then the mouth. And I'll show you right here. We're moving on to the line that goes down and the curved line for his smile, okay? And that's going to the middle of our nose and drawing a short little line down. Just like that, okay? Next, we're gonna do the mouth, which is just a little curved line, just a little curved line. We don't really want it any wider than the nose, okay? Just like that. So now we have our nose and our mouth for our bear, okay? So from there, we're gonna add the circle that's gonna look like the muzzle of the bear. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start underneath the smile, and not right underneath. We want to give just a little bit of distance, just a little bit. And we're going to make an oval shape that surrounds all of this. And I'll show you exactly what I mean. So we're going to start underneath, and we're going to draw an oval. All right, so now we have our nose, we have our mouth, we have our muzzle for our polar bear. Next, we're going to draw our eyes, and those are easy. Those are just 2 black dots. We're going to do above that oval. 1, 2. And see how I kind of have them spaced? I don't really want them right next to each other. I have like maybe a finger width of space in between the two, okay? All right, so now we have most of the face, so now we're gonna move on to the body. And for the body, we're gonna draw a big giant upside down U shape, okay, for the body. So we're gonna start at the bottom of our paper, and we're gonna draw that big upside down U. Just like that, all right? There's our bare body. And now we just need two smaller U shapes for the arms. And they're gonna connect right on these lines. So I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about, okay? We're gonna do one starting here and then one starting here. And these are also U shapes. So two more U shapes, and now we have a face, a body, and arms, okay? All right, so now from there, all we have to do is add our little details that really turn it into a polar bear, okay? So we're gonna add a couple of small ears, and those are just gonna be upside down U shapes again, okay? So there's our ears. We can even give it an inside, and so do another upside down U inside, but this time coloring it in. And see how our bear's really starting to come together? I think he needs just a few more details. So when I think of polar bear, I think of claws, or any bear, I guess I think of claws. So let's give him some little claws. 1, 2, 3, 4 on one hand and 4 on the other. And these are just little kind of oval shapes that I filled in. Okay, so now our bear has claws. And then I think maybe to give him some texture and to give the idea of fur or hair on him, I think we're gonna do a little bit of line work. So we'll do some, let's see, we'll do some little lines. On one side of his arm. And see just how on the bottom of his arm there, I'm just doing some little lines just to kind of give the idea that he's fuzzy, okay? And we're gonna do the same thing on the bottom side of his other arm. Just do some little lines. And I'm not filling up the arm with it. I'm just kind of doing the bottom side of his arm, see? We don't want to fill the whole entire arm up with it. And then I think maybe we'll add a little more lines on the sides of the body. On each side. All right, so there's some more lines to give the idea of fur. And then maybe we'll do a little bit on the head, and then I think it'll be good. So let's do so we got some fur on his head, and we'll do maybe just a couple, just 1 or 2 around the face. All right, so I think we have a polar bear. I think we're doing pretty good there. There's our little illustration of this is our friendly polar bear, I think. He looks pretty nice. So now all we have to do, or we're done with our crayon or our oil pastel. So we just have to cut it out. You can try to cut out as close to that outside line as possible. It doesn't have to be perfect though, because we're going to put this right on our colorful background. So we're going to cut it out. All right, and I'll save this for scrap for later. I might have something to do with that. All right, and then when your paper is dry, and mine isn't quite dry yet, so I might have to wait a little bit, but when my paper is dry, then I'm going to simply put some glue on the back of my bear and attach him somewhere to the bottom of my background, just like this. Now, a tip for when you're doing your glue stick to make sure it sticks is if you put glue all around the outside edge first, then fill it in, okay? Then stick it down. Then I like to flip it over and hold it with my hands for like at least 5 seconds. And then if I do that, then usually when I flip it over, then whatever I've glued stays really well. So this is our project for today. This is our Ted Harrison inspired Yukon landscape with a polar bear. And that's it for me today. And now we're off to Vail. I hope you guys have a great day and we'll see you soon. Bye.